tragically, there's this one kid living on Nassau I was talking to yesterday. Really nice kid, born and raised in Australia and moved out to Nassau because that's where his family was from. And he wanted to be a pilot someday, but he ended up just dropping like unconscious last night after we left Nassau after eating a meal. They don't know what it was, and so there's no airport from Nassau anywhere. They're completely isolated. So the Kwai is leaving there today, leaving here from Puka Puka today and making the overnight trip back to Nassau and picking this kid up and bringing him back here because they have no other way of getting him back here. And if it's a life or death situation, he would not make it without a medical service. And he's a great kid, so it's a darn shame. I'm hoping he makes it here safely, or maybe it was just an allergic reaction or something. I really don't know yet, but yeah, it sucks to hear. This island is unrealistically beautiful. Going for a little stroll now. I think I'm gonna make my way down this road right here. Go check out the island by foot. See what's what. Well, I just met some lovely people back down that way who are living in this village, and they said that this here is a reserve area. So the government has sanctioned off different parts of the island where people come and go, and so people leave for a certain amount of time so the resources replenish themselves, and then they return to an more abundant, you know, center of resources, which I think is a fantastic idea. That way they don't deplete all their resources in a single spot. They're always moving around, and it keeps things interesting, I'm sure. You know, not always staying in one spot. And so they just opened this reserve area, and apparently there's another couple on the other islands over there, and so it sounds like they're always just moving around from one reserve area to another, which is a great way to live, especially a place as beautiful as this. This is freaking unreal. Oh, and they gave me a delicious coconut. Probably one of the best coconuts I've had in my entire life. Like, you cannot beat the taste that comes out of these things. It's like a little bike path going down here. I think I'm gonna head back now. My feet are starting to hurt. I'm walking barefoot. Yeah, I lost my conditioning after living on fanning for a few months and then going home for a month. So, gotta restart that over again. Anyways, they're apparently doing a dance for us tonight, like a performance of singing and dancing. So, I'm gonna try to get back and go capture that. Yeah, this is why my feet hurt. I'm barefoot and it's sharp coral. Well, I can see the Kwai sailing away way off in the distance. So we're officially stranded here in Puka Puka. Quite frankly, I'm just fine with that. I'm about to go. I can hear all the kids screaming and cheering. Sounds like the event's about to start. Don't really know what to expect, but it'll be exciting. Yeah. Not a bad place to be stranded.
Defense, Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
And this is Tiata Village.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is where I was walking through. This is where I started out then. I remember this place now.
And this is the CIC.
Oh, it's the Sunday school. Another church?
Yeah,
Was that the church?
yeah.
How many churches are on the island?
Only 3.
Only 3?
Yeah.
Is it all Catholic?
Nah, some, but not many. It's like around 50. You in the STA.
Okay.
This is the church, STA church.
That's STA
Yeah.
Church. Cemetery.
And this is the road to the cyclone center of Puka Puka.
Wow. Huge.
Yeah.
This is where people go in case of cyclones. So it's the highest place on the island right here.
And this is the beginning of Puka Puka of this island from the stone. And then the stone turned and someone inside. His name is Tamade. He saw this stone. He was looking for place, for island to stay. And many years, and this stone get on, and he stay on the rock, but he doesn't know there's someone inside the rock. And this one is called Matariki. This one came out, and he built this island. That's why this island called Teuluotawatu.
Ah,
That's the other name.
okay. I
And
like
this fella went, and this man, he went somewhere else.
He was
And,
sent away.
Yeah, he was scared.
Nanua Mate?
Hmm?
How do you say Nanua Mate?
Yeah.
Yanumaki? Nunumi? Ketua Lingal? Linga? Ah,
Nunua mate dinu maki nunumi ke tualingalinga.
stride with faith, advance with confidence. Is that what that means? It's nice. We got Minions and SpongeBob. Look at that. I love SpongeBob. The school was open 1964.
Okay, my name is Pio Ravarua. I hail from Puka Puka, of course. I was born here. I'm one of 14 siblings. I went to New Zealand for my education. My dad sent me to New Zealand for my education when I was 7 years old. And in 2001, I came back from New Zealand and been here since. My family's been on Puka Puka from way back. Both sides of the current family, mum and dad. Mum hails from one of the chiefly lines of Ngake village, and dad, of course, hails from a chiefly line of Lato. So my oldest brother, he inherits dad's chiefly title, traditional title, and from mum's family, I have inherited the chiefly line from there. So I am also a traditional chief of the village of Ngake, chief of Muliwutu, and presently I'm the executive officer for the island government, for the Puka Puka Nassau island government. And it's you might say the focal point person of the island with regard to government and other running of all the government stuff that come from Rarotonga, from the central government. Chiefly title. Well, traditionally we have our traditions and our responsibility as the Council of Island Chiefs. Presently there's about 5-6 of us on the island, and every year we have our annual general meeting to set a program for the people. This includes the cleaning of the cemeteries, fishing competitions, cleaning of the reserves, planting, and sports. We can impose those sort of things on. And of course we regularly go through our rules and regulations that govern the island from the chiefs, and that happens every year. I think isolation is the key. Before the central government came in, before there was central government, the tradition practices were the government, and the chiefs were the heads of families. From the heads of families, when they get together as a collective, they become the governing body that dictates what goes on in the island, whether through decision making for the collective, for the whole island, or groups of people who want to do certain things. Through the chiefs, they can sanction or veto whatever happens on the island. In my opinion, some of the other islands have forgotten the practices. It doesn't exist anymore on some of the islands, as far as I can see. Some of the even traditional practices that we practice, we still hold on to. They don't exist any longer in the other islands. Like, for example, the Rahui system. I know Rarotonga is starting that now. We are proud to say we've been using the Rahui system, the prohibition system, for a long time. And I know some of the islands have forgotten. The present generation doesn't realize they used to practice, their forefathers used to practice it. Rahui is when you impose a time period for don't go somewhere. So you prohibit people in certain periods of the year, certain times during the year, not to go to the motus, not to go to the reserves. That's what I meant by prohibition. So we stop people from going to the reserves because they're going to harvest the food resources we have when it's not time to harvest. That's the traditional practices we do. And we, for example, plant and harvest, eat the food on wale. When it's depleted, we open the motu to go and feed from there. Once it's depleted, we plant, we come back. That's food security for us, part of the... And the Rahui system, or the prohibition, is imposed for that. People get fined for not non-compliance. In the old days, the ultimate penalty was death, but of course that was the old days. We don't do that anymore. If I know my Polynesian history correctly, there were certain empires that grew up in the Pacific, like the Tuipulotu, which is the Fijian Empire. After that was the Tui Samoa, which is the Samoan empires, and the Tui-Tonga, which is the younger of the three. And through the generations, their empirical influences have made an impact on each island. Certainly we know, Pukapukans know where these locations are on the map. We know where Tahiti is, the Marquesas is, Fiji, Tonga, Tuvalu, Tokelau, Samoa, even as far as Tikopia. So our traditions tell us through our chants there is some connection there with some Pukapukans that obviously either been there or come back with the stories, and that's traditions, that's all in our... We have a few stories of invasions. Today there's, for myself, there's an interest as to where we actually came from. There's a personal view that we're related to the Tui Samoa because our traditions are more closer to the Samoan to the west than the rest of the Cook Islands to the east, Tahiti and so on. I can dare even suggest that the main legend of how Pukapuka started. We're also closely related to Tonga, because our legend says the first male of the island, which is Mataliki, got his wife from Tongalelewa, which is the big island of Tonga. If people believe there's truth in myths, there's some foundation of truth in them. I would say that's where our traditions, our myths of creation come from. Pukapuka became part of the Cook Islands, claimed by the Cook Islands, when the missionaries came, under the London Missionary Society. First missionaries arrived from Rarotonga on the island in 1857. Okay, December the 6th, 1857. And Luka Manuai was the first missionary, and his partner Moari. When they reached Manihiki, the question by the British missionary, their teacher, was saying, "Where is Pukapuka?" to the Manikians, including to the crew of the boat. Everybody pointed this direction from Manihiki. So not many people knew that, but the Manikians knew where Pukapuka was. A few days later they arrived, and God help us from there. There was a time where the history of the blackbirders in the Cook Islands, there were slave ships come this way, and a number of Pukapukans was part victims to that time. I'm not sure how many, but going through the genealogies, we find people's name there, and they don't exist anymore. Suddenly the name's there's no progeny after that. I think 3 or 4 slave ships come this way. There are stories of people hiding from during that period. Somebody who managed to escape the clutches of the enslavers. I think that time they used to call them blackbirders. Well, it was initially under the British Empire.
Because Captain Cook said, because
Yeah,
he planted the
yeah,
flag.
because he accidentally discovered Mangai or Aitutaki, wherever it is he landed. And then when the missionaries came around, they claimed all the islands. They put the missionary teachers on, and Pukapuka happened to be one of the last islands they placed a missionary teacher there. I think Bazakut was the British missionary that went. He was heading off to Sydney via Samoa. So Pukapuka was the last post for missionary teacher. Well, as I said, under the London Missionary Society, when they were the Christian dominant faction on the islands, it was under the British Protectorate. 1901, we came under the New Zealand government, and more we were recognised as. The islands were called Cook Islands during the time when Britain was the protectorate. It was Cook Islands, and then New Zealand became the governing nation for us. The protectorate. We became protectorates like Niue and Tokelau under New Zealand. Puka Puka, there's no such a word in the Pukapukan language, but here's what I've been told. In Rarotonga, before the missionaries came, there were whaling boats that came through. The first European to discover Pukapuka is, of course, Magellan, Mandana,
No, Magellan.
Magellan, and Quiros was the navigator. They were the first, and I think they named the island Saint Bernard Island, Saint Bernardo Island. And then Lord Byron came by. He didn't make a landing, but he came by, and he saw the island and noted it and called it Danger Island. It was Lord Byron, British explorer, traveller. He gave it the name Danger Island.
Why?
Because he couldn't get anywhere near the reef. And it wasn't, people often say when they hear Danger Island, it's because of the people or cannibals. It's nothing to do with the people. He never made a landing because he couldn't get close enough to get into the lagoon. It's the breakers he saw, and it was too dangerous to maneuver his boat next to the island, so he called it Danger Island. Well, as I said, the missionaries called it Puka Puka. I'm sure there were missionaries on those whaling boats, or not missionaries, but there were islanders, Polynesians there, and they would probably say the island is full of puka trees. Puka is a tree. A puka it's a Pukapukan word for puka, is a tree. And the way that was told is called tree of the island of many puka trees. And you say that Polynesianly in a dialect, it's called Puka Puka. So the first mention of the word was in the missionaries' journal, the first missionaries' journal, which was written 9 years after he first arrived. This journal was written in probably Sydney, 9 years after his term here in Pukapuka. While he was in Rarotonga, while they were in Raro to start their journey to go out to the various islands, the name Puka Puka was mentioned. That's the earliest that I have known, that I know of. The island called Puka Puka. Because the Pukapukans, they didn't call it Puka Puka. They call it Te Ulu o Te Watu. That's the traditional name for this island. Te Ulu o Te Watu.
Which means what?
The head of the stone, the head of the rock, which denotes our myth of creation. Tells about how Puka Puka came to be.